What's going on? Welcome to my TED Talk. This is my Unfiltered channel, first video. Hopefully you're watching this in the future when I blew up on my main channel and people are just coming to check out the Unfiltered channel because they want to know, how did he do it? How did he make all of this money? He's a multi-millionaire. He's living my dream life. How did he do it? And so you look across my main channel, you look through all those videos, you see in the description, there's a link to his Unfiltered channel. So you scroll down, you click the oldest button on the YouTube channel page, and here you are on the first video of his Unfiltered channel. Now, but jokes aside, in this first video, I just want to go over some of the most important habits, techniques, lessons that have changed my life fundamentally the last few years. I've gone through a lot in terms of self-improvement, in terms of changing everything about me, changing my entire way of life, my personality. You know, like if you talk to some of my friends and you ask them, how was Sunny a few years ago? It's 2025, basically the new year, it's January 20th, so we're a little bit into it. If you ask my friends, what was Sunny like years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, versus how he is now? A lot of them would bring up that I've gone through a lot of growth, that I really loved self-improvement, that I just was a disciplined guy. I'd be the guy reading the books, the guy going to the gym, pushing other people to do that, the guy teaching everyone about macros, about what types of foods are healthy versus unhealthy. Now, I have plenty of goals for the next couple years. I'm in San Francisco right now. I moved here 3 months ago, actually. So I've been here for a good amount of time. I'm working at an AI startup called Videogen.io. You could check it out. And I'm running the marketing for them. So that's my full-time gig right now. It's still social media marketing related. That's everything for me. That's my entire life personality, is social media marketing. Maybe that's like an overstatement, since, you know, I have many friends, I have many hobbies. Yesterday I played pickleball for 2.5 hours. But yeah, I just want to give you a bit of a summary of who I am, where I'm at right now, because the first fundamental habit and technique that just absolutely changed everything for me was working out. It was having this discipline of working on my body, of stressing out different muscle groups. And this could be done, you know, in the gym, how I kind of just described it, of lifting weights. But it can also be done if you play a sport, if you're progressing in a sport, if you play soccer, you play tennis, pickleball, if you do rock climbing. There's always a ladder in these different circumstances which you can get better at, which you can improve yourself at. If you have one of those things and you just spend time at it, you will feel so much happier about yourself. You will feel so much more excited about life. And so for a lot of people, they get stuck in this self-improvement rut where they haven't improved themselves at all. They're at the very start of their journey and they look online, they see all these people building online businesses, which, you know, to be fair, I haven't built an online business yet. But they look at these guys and they look at the influencers and they think, okay, I need to make some major changes to my life. I need to build a business. I need to grow. I need 10,000, 100,000 followers. And that's the thing that they're at. But if you were to look at their actual life, if you were to look at what they're doing day to day, where they're at, they don't even have like a sport that they're good at. They don't even have a hobby they're good at. They don't have anything that they're really consistent with. And this was the trap that I was in for years, for so many years, is that I wanted something bigger. I wanted the online business. I wanted to like build something super significant. And I was very insecure that I didn't have that yet. And so you could go on and on of like, oh, like you shouldn't desire anything. Like you should be secure in who you are and be happy, peaceful. I agree. Like you should always operate from a place of relaxation, peace, of just being in the moment. But I don't think you should do that and do absolutely nothing with your life. I don't think that you should under-support your future family, under-support your friends by just being a recluse, just being, just meditating all day. I don't agree with that. So I think that the first thing that one should do if they have these ambitions, they have these desires, is to choose something to get good at. And I think that the gym, working out, a sport is one of the best ways to do that, because you also get healthy. You also get to be physically fit. You get to look better in the mirror. You get to look better in your clothes. And health aside, like, you are getting all of those things on the outside. But if we talk about health, you're going to be living longer. You're going to have more energy. You're going to feel amazing. You know, a lot of people, they get stuck in a loop and they start to feel anxious and stressed and they don't know why. And so they'll get medication, or they're going to do more self-help stuff, which, not like the self-help I'm talking about, the self-help stuff like just writing to themselves, which, you know, is very healthy mentally, but I would not say physically. They'll go and they'll be doing all of these self-help things. Maybe they'll go travel a bit and they'll go talk to their friends about it. But I promise you, if you're in an anxious and depressed state of mind, if you go to the gym, you lift weights, you do cardio, you do abs, you push yourself in all of these different things physically, or you go play a sport for 2-3 hours, you go to some pickleball courts and you try to compete with the best people there and you try your ass off for hours. If you do that, you will feel very peaceful and happy afterwards, I promise you, when you exert all of that effort out of you and you prove yourself that you were able to, you know, put in the effort. You will feel fucking amazing afterwards. It's a cheat code for so many people if you ever get into depressed and anxious cycles, is to go sweat it out. And, you know, too many people think it's too easy. It's like, oh, exercise couldn't do that for me. Like, it's just, I went to PE class. Like, that didn't do anything. I actually didn't even like that at all. But if you have your own thing that you're doing for yourself, and it's something you really like, if you bring back a childhood type of sport or activity you were doing, and then you just attack it and you get really good at it, it'll do wonders for you in terms of your anxiety, your depression, in terms of what's happening. Sorry. And exercise can be a great remedy if you're in those states of mind. It can even be a bit of a preventative thing too. Like, if you have that habit of exercising every day, then you're much less likely to get into anxiety, into stress, which is usually what leads to most bad habits. You know, when you're in that state of mind that I'm not in a good place, I don't like where I'm at right now. Like, when you feel that way, you're going to end up coping with some sort of thing. You're going to end up being like, oh shit, I need to go smoke weed. I need to go drink alcohol. I need a party right now. Which, you know, I always like say something in this video and then I'm like, well, you know, like, there is a caveat here. And my caveat to that is I'm not completely against, you know, doing all of those things. Just like objectively. In this time of my life, that is not the opinion that I hold. I just like to do them once in a while. I am like the type of guy that will work for a couple months straight, who will be in this disciplined monk mode, sleeping early, not touching drugs, alcohol, any of that stuff. And then after I accomplished a good amount of stuff, after I was in this discipline mode, which I'm still trying to figure this out right now, I'm still trying to make this discipline mode better, I will go and I will do whatever I want for that small period of time with all of my close friends. And so it's this enjoyable process. I actually do enjoy all of that time that I'm spending with them. It's very healthy. But when I say like no, like drugs, alcohol, that's what you cope with when you're in that negative state of mind, that's just what I'm talking about, where most people are at and where I used to be at. And for me, it was also eating like a ton of food, like binge eating food. And I would always be doing that because I was so stressed or anxious about not being enough in some form, in some way. And so one really great way to, like, besides exercise, besides having that sport you're progressing in, to make not doing these bad habits, which means being in a more peaceful, happy state of mind for most of your day, another great way to get there is meditation. Meditation is such an insane habit. It's the habit of all habits. It's beautiful, especially when you do it in a particular way, which we'll get to in a second. Meditation has changed my life. There was me a few years ago before I was meditating consistently. And yes, I tried it for like here and there inconsistently. Maybe 4 years ago, I saw like a Matt D'Avella video where he was like, oh, I meditated for 30 days straight. And I was like, okay, like you meditated, let me just try it out. If you're going to do it for this entire month, like there must be something worth it here. And so I tried it myself. And the first 6 months, really, like, I think I did get benefits. I just wasn't even aware of it. But I still stuck to it because I was also watching videos by actualize.org, Leo Gura. He's such a like crazy find of a channel. He has tons of spirituality content, tons of life advice. And I let him brainwash me a little bit. And I was like, holy shit, like this, I do believe that this could work. And so I started implementing meditation. I started getting into it more and more. And then I started to notice the changes in my state of mind in my entire life. I started to notice that whenever I meditated, after it, I felt amazing. I felt a lot more peaceful, a lot more calm. And then after months and months of doing it, I started to notice like, wow, I'm actually changing my entire personality. I'm actually becoming much more aware of, my bad tendencies. Or bad is a weird word to use here, but I'd notice when I was feeling angry. I would notice when I was feeling much more like sad, anxious, much more jealous, much more of all of these emotions that I think it's natural for us to feel these emotions, but the game is to be able to recognize them and let them go. And so meditation doesn't just eliminate these emotions from your life. I think that's a common misconception that you meditate and you just destroy your ego, sense of self, and then bam, you're in just enlightenment. You never feel anything. What it does for most people is it just lowers the amount of time it takes you to return back to your peaceful present state. Whenever you feel an emotion, you feel super angry, you feel super stressed, you feel like you're judging yourself and you're like, no, I'm not where I'm at in life. What having a consistent meditation practice that you're getting better at, what it will do for your life is it will lower the amount of time it takes you to be like, oh my God, I'm angry, I'm stressed. It'll lower the amount of time it takes you to come back to a peaceful, normal state of mind. I think people are crazy that don't meditate. I think people are absolutely insane because if I didn't meditate, if I didn't have that habit in my life, I would just be all over the place. And I think that if like a lot of people, they'll have a consistent exercise routine, they'll have very good friends, support groups, and so they can get a lot of the way there in terms of just being a peaceful, happy person, in terms of, being a bit aware of their emotions. But if they don't have a consistent mindfulness practice, or they give themselves that time to really just keep returning back to the present state of mind, because that is what meditation is from first principles. It's just giving yourself a period of time, giving yourself an entire 10-minute block, 20-minute block. And in that amount of time, you just focus on one thing. You could literally choose a point on your wall, or you could choose your sensation of breathing. And then you just keep bringing it back to your breath, because you're going to stick there, right, to whatever sensation you choose. And then after some random amount of time, you're going to just have a random thought pop up. You're going to have a random just feeling, craving pop up. You're like, oh, I want to stop this. This is so boring. But then what you do in that situation is that you recognize, you're like, oh shit, I'm in an emotion, craving, and you bring it back to that sensation you chose originally. You bring it back to your nose, you bring it back to that point on the wall, and you keep repping that out. You keep doing it over and over again. And yes, this is a specific type of meditation. This isn't, there's a few others. I have a course in my academy, school.com/sunny, where I actually go into some specific forms of meditation, but this one in particular is what I think most people should start with, because it not only builds your ability to return back to the present moment after having some undesirable emotional state of mind, but it also builds your ability to focus on a task, which will translate to your work. It'll translate to you being able to focus on your homework, focus on an assignment, focus on your work task, so you're not as unfocused and you create better results in your life. And if you increase your amount of focus onto that point by repping it out over and over and over again, you will also be much more focused on other people when you're sitting down. This is something that people don't talk about at all on the internet. I'm very surprised about, because it has changed my entire social life. It's changed how much I'm able to enjoy the times that I spend with my friends, with my family, with all these different people. It's by literally putting my awareness, my focus intentionally into listening to other people, to really feeling what they're trying to tell me. I would go through there's been so many social experiences in the past where I wasn't there. I just wasn't there. I was in my head. I was thinking about something else. I was judging myself in that situation. I was just wishing that, if I had more money, if I had more status right now, this would be a more ideal situation to be in. I would be just in my mind so much in these social situations. But it wasn't until I started getting into meditation, I started leveling up in that skill, that when I would sit down in those social circumstances, I'd be so focused onto the other person. I'd just be there listening to what they have to say, that I would just be much more happy in that situation. But two, I would have much more deep responses to what they have to say. I would recognize the little things in that must have meant a lot to you. You could catch the subtle social cues of their emotion changing, or their expression changing, of their tone changing, when you're super ingrained into the conversation. Meditation is a great way to do that. And so when you're listening to that person and you're there, and then you express something which is really attuned to what they were saying, people will really, really appreciate that. And for me, as someone who loves making these videos where I help people, where I teach people, it's even more helpful, because in those situations that I'm with people and I'm super focused on what they have to say, I will recognize something that they have to work on. I will recognize something that I already have experience and value in that I can give to them. And then I can recognize it. I can pivot the conversation in a nice, friendly way, because that's a whole skill of itself, to be able to teach someone something without hurting their ego. That's something that's taken me a long time to learn how to do. I'm still needing to work on that skill, but in those circumstances, I'll be able to recognize it in the moment. I'll be able to teach them the thing and then walk away from it. They're happy because they're learning something. They have a direction. I'm happy because I just got to talk. I'm happy because I just got to teach them something. Honestly, I just love that so much. I love just talking about something, teaching someone something that I'm really good at, that I have experience in. It's one of my biggest joys in life. Last night, I met one of my friends. His sister flew in, and his girlfriend's brother was there. And I know this is kind of a unique situation, but yeah. So my friend, his girlfriend, and then their siblings, and I was the fifth guy there. And I met the siblings for the first time. And they're a bit older than us, we're all 22 and they're all about 26, I'm pretty sure. And so they just were randomly talking about intermittent fasting, about wanting to implement that in their life. And there's just something in me that when someone mentions something like that, which I've been doing for 6 years, 7 years, that I am just a treasure trove of information and experience when it comes to that. When someone brings up a topic like that, I become alive. I'm just there. I'm just by the way, have you ever tried longer fasting? You ever tried 24-hour fast? I've done 72-hour fasts. And it's just I drop that, and then they're ready to just listen. And I'm able to give really, really useful value. For example, if you're a girl who's trying to get into intermittent fasting, it's much different than if you're a guy getting into intermittent fasting. And there's this Dr. Mindy Pelz, who has a book called Fasting Girl or The Fasting Girl, I forget. And I recommend that to people because intermittent fasting on your menstrual cycle is very different. Like, you have to fast on particular days so your hormones are not like going out of whack. And anyways, my point is that that's the value I could provide, for example, to someone in that circumstance. And it all comes back from meditation, because I'm able to be so focused, to be so attentive to other people, to actually recognize where I can fit in there, where I can provide value, which could genuinely change someone's long-term health forever. Like, me making these recommendations, me providing this value, could just cause a snowball effect for the rest of their life. And they're going to be a healthier, happier person as a result of me meditating. And so, if you struggle with discipline, if you struggle with staying consistent with some of these habits, I would urge you to think about the impact it could have on the people around you, on the possible people that you could meet. Almost make it this like burden, this responsibility that, oh, if I don't level up my meditation skill, if I don't get really good at this, that means that everyone around me isn't going to be able to receive my gift. They're not going to get the value from me. They're not going to be as happy of a person. And maybe for some people that creates even more guilt, anxiety, and stress, and they're going to self-sabotage out of that. But at least for me, I don't obsess over that. I don't like, when I'm meditating, I'm like, I got to focus on this on my nose because they're going to fucking kill themselves. No, I'm not obsessive about that. But it's one of the things in the back of your head. For me, the greatest motivation is to have 1,000 things to motivate you. Like, people, if you go online and you watch those motivational like Kobe Bryant videos, they'll just list like back to back to back, like, oh, like, this is why you need to be motivated, like your family, like you got to retire them. And then you watch some other video and they're like, oh, it's for the love of the game, like you got to enjoy the process. And then you talk to another one and you get like another 10 reasons. And I think that they're all valid, like watch those videos here and there and just like pick up that stuff. It's usually just like celebrity interviews, like when you get down to it, and like get all different like things of motivation. It's like the positive side of enjoying the process, being in flow state, removing the sense of self so you have a calm mind. And then there's the negative side. There's, oh my God, like if I'm really honest, like I just kind of want to be better than people around me. Like if I'm being really honest, like I fucking love being a high status person. Like that's kind of the dark side that people don't talk about as much. And so if you have both sides and you have like 30 reasons for each that you can think of, it'll be a lot easier to be, motivated to stick to the meditation, to go do the other thing, because the more and more reasons you have to be motivated, the more and more obvious it becomes to take the action you want to take, to do the meditation session, to go hit the workout, to go do the work. And so that was definitely a huge technique, a huge area. So we're at working out, or at least some sort of physical discipline that you're leveling up in. And we're at meditation, which is focusing onto one point, whether it's a point on the wall, whether it's a point on your nose. There's so many different types of meditation. If you go on YouTube, you can find a ton of guided meditations, and it will change your life, because the guided meditations are very, very useful. I used to think like, oh, that's for pussies who like don't have the discipline to just meditate by themselves. But now I'm realizing that there's certain almost like hypnosis type of guided meditations, which will literally like get you to states of mind, which I know it's in the name guided meditation, but like they will literally guide you into certain states of minds which you can't access because you don't even have the information to know what that endpoint is. Like you can get yourself to a certain endpoint meditating by yourself, but to get to that endpoint, that specific point that they're trying to get you to in that meditation, they know what it feels like. They know where it's at. And so they're able to accurately guide you there. So the last habit that I want to talk about is a bit more experimental. It's something that I'm currently implementing basically the last maybe 6 months. But I know, just based on the short-term results that I've gotten from it already, that in a couple years, I'm going to be attributing it the same level of impact on my life as I have the meditation and the physical discipline. And it's a combination of a couple different things, but I'd say the overall is, what I say, manifestation, visualization, affirmation. It's basically future casting yourself. It's being able to step out of the current paradigm, the current evidence you have for what you're doing in your life, your current environment, and being able to see the future, being able to imagine. I'd say it's the skill of imagination. I think that's a good broad way to talk about this. And so, you see people having vision boards online. You might have cringed at them or on their Instagram. It's usually girls doing it. I don't really know any other guys who just have a vision board, who have a board of things, or maybe they just don't talk about it. And I'm just bold enough to just tell people like, oh, I have the board. But I actually have like a slideshow that has a ton of different slides on this. And so one of them is that traditional vision board type of thing where it's pictures of things that kind of inspire me to the future I want. And so one of them is like a silver play button, a diamond play button. Another one is my like dream apartment, like in Manhattan, seeing all those buildings, which for someone else might be a farmhouse, but for me, it's just like that image really inspires me. The floor to ceiling windows, like that like office. I have like an office there, and then I have a bedroom. I have a first class ticket of like Emirates, like the type that reclines. It's really useful to just like have that out there, because the human brain just forgets so quickly. Like we know what we want, we have ambition, then we'll have motivation to go do that thing for a couple hours, and then you just go through your day, and then you talk to people, you go through life, you eat a couple meals, and it's almost like you just forgot about your dreams. It's so weird. And so having this vision board, having this thing to just keep you accountable, or not even keep you accountable, but to remind you, it's like, oh yeah, this is what I want. This is the apartment. This is the first class ticket. Like all those things is very useful. And so that's just one part of this entire thing, because on that slideshow, I also have affirmations, which are these statements that your future self would be saying effortlessly. And so these are supposed to kind of be a little bit uncomfortable. It's supposed to be a bit out of your depth of where you're at right now. Like you might be saying like, I easily am able to work for 12 hours a day. That's one that I have on my affirmation board. Right now, I can work a good amount. I'd say if you compare me to most people most people I know, I'm much, much more productive than them. But when I compare myself to lethal entrepreneurs, when I compare myself to maybe lethal athletes, like some of these guys, they're able to just put their head down, and almost every waking hour, like if I compare myself to Mr. Beast, he's running a fucking empire from morning till night. He has a whole person, a whole employee whose entire role is just to plan out Mr. Beast's day and to let him know at every point what his task is, what he needs to be focused on. I'm not there yet, and I will be there very soon. And even just me saying that, like that I will be there, that almost confidence that I'm going to get into that, I'd attribute that statement, that confidence, to me future casting through some of these things, me future casting by me saying that affirmation, like I easily work for 12 hours a day. Because if you say that statement right now, there's almost this lag time between you saying it and then you not believing it. Like if you just say it right now, like I easily work for 12 hours a day, and you say it right now too, you almost just instantly believe it for just a second, right? Before you're like, oh, like, no, like that's not me. Like, oh, I'm lazy. Like all those thoughts come flooding in. But at least if you just keep repping that out, you keep just like saying that statement over and over again, what you'll find is that throughout the day, if you are able to push yourself and like work a bit harder than you did the last day or the last week, the last year, you get like a new piece of evidence, and then that statement gets a little bit more valid, and you like chip away at it a little bit. Because I haven't been like consistently working 12-hour days. I've been working a lot, and every time that I work a bit farther, that I push myself a bit to work a bit more, whenever I say that I usually work 12 hours a day, I start believing it more and more, slightly and slightly. And so I think that's a huge misconception with affirmations, that people think that if you are doing an affirmation, it means you instantly need to have that result. You know, like people usually cringe at the fat person who says in the mirror, like, I'm skinny, I'm healthy, I'm bad. And, you know, it gets such a bad rep. And it really irks me a bit because I feel like anyone could understand the logical explanation that I just said for why affirmations work. Like, I see so many celebrities, so many influencers just dogging on it. It's like, even Alex Hormozy, I respect this entrepreneur so much. He has such good information online, and he's definitely helped change my paradigm, changed who I am as a person. But like, one of his most famous quotes is, "You don't get results by shouting affirmations in a window. It's about stacking an undeniable amount of proof that you're the person you want to be." Like, I think that's almost the exact quote. But like what I just said is just another tactic to be able to get there too. You know, like when I was obese, when I was 265 pounds and I was not doing any exercise, I was just eating food throughout the week. I'd say one of the biggest reasons that I was still there is because I truly believed that's just the person I was. I was an unathletic person. I was the type of person who would just overeat. But now, years later, I am a fucking competitive, athletic person, you know? I'm not completely shredded yet. But it's like yesterday, I went to some pickleball courts with my friend. My friend, he played tennis at a college level. And we're playing against other people. And I'm literally playing the same skill level as him. I'm a bit worse for sure. But we just are owning these courts. They have these pickleball courts in San Francisco where it's like 4 different courts. And there's one court called like the active court or something, the competitive court, and it's just king of the court forever. That's like the hard rule at these courts. And so you can just, or the challenger court. And so you can just put down your rackets and then you can win. And if you win, or you get a chance to play whoever's the king, and if you win, you stay on the court. And so if you are just like a really competitive good player, you could just stay there forever. It's like really biased towards people who are good at the game. And most people are just playing on the other courts. They're just not as good, which is completely fair, right? But yesterday, I stayed on that court for 3 hours with my friend. Like, we just went so hard at pickleball. And to myself that was in high school, who was just obese, who was there looking in the mirror, being disgusted with myself, I didn't think I was that. I thought I was competitive for sure, because in my head, I was like, I'm going to fucking beat these guys. But I didn't think I was athletic. I didn't think that I was all that. Like, I didn't think that I'd be winning. Like, if I'd show up to any sports, I'd assume I was the one who was going to lose. You know, I'd assume I was the one that was not going to perform. But then I look at a day like yesterday where I just fucking compete and I win and everyone's like looking at me and there's people coming after being like, yo, you're so good, bro. Like, how long you been playing? Like, those types of questions. It just really just goes to show how important these beliefs are. And so, yes, like, you can go do the Alex Hormozy method of just go, like, hit your head against the wall, stack the evidence, and then, yes, you will feel like an athlete when you have the six-pack, when you have all these things. But I'd say if you are at that obese stage, and this, you know, is just an analogy, this can apply to every walk of life. I'm just using weight loss as a vehicle here. If you are at that obese, unathletic stage, if you do shout those affirmations in the mirror, if you do look to yourself and be like, yes, I'm an athlete, I am healthy, I can do this. Like, if you shout that in the mirror and then you go and you try your best that day, I'd say in that circumstance, even though you look in the mirror the next day, you're still fat, you're still where you're at. At least when you take those actions, you do those inputs, you will be 1% or even more than that, I'd say. You will just believe more that you're the athlete. And it won't be like, you won't feel completely confident the next day. But what you will feel like is you will feel slightly more confident in your ability to be an athlete. You'll be like, okay, like, I did eat that healthy meal. I did go to the gym yesterday. It's like, yeah, like, I am a little bit of an athlete. Versus if you don't do any of this affirmation, any of this imagination stuff, and all you do is you go and you stack that evidence, and then you go to the gym one day. The next day when you wake up really sore, you wake up really, like, tired, maybe you're able to go back again, but I'd say that you're a bit less likely than the person who was shouting those affirmations in a mirror. And so that's that's imagination. We got, oh no, that is not imagination, because we have affirmations, we have the vision board, and then visualization. Visualization is so cool. It's so sick. To be just completely like frank, it is such a cool habit. What visualization is you literally sit there, close your eyes, and you just start imagining what your future self is doing, the version of you doing all those good habits. Literally, like, you're trying to imagine yourself from like a first person point of view doing whatever you're trying to do. And so I told you one of my affirmations was working for 12 hours a day, right? Doing a visualization of that would be me thinking about sitting at my desk at the office, sitting here in my apartment at my desk, and just like imagining myself attacking the work. Like, just like, oh, I have this task to do. I'm just going to go do it. I'm going to like dog it. I got this shit. I also imagine myself like thinking like, oh, I'm tired. I don't feel like working. No, I'm going to go attack. And so that's the visualization, is you can like almost just program yourself. You like give your brain some inputs into the desired activity you want to be doing. And so let's say you're that obese person and you're trying to get into the gym. You imagine yourself, not just like lifting weights, doing cardio, but you imagine yourself sitting at home, not wanting to go to the gym. Like the real times and places that you don't go to the gym, you make the wrong decision. You imagine yourself in those times, and then you imagine yourself being like, oh, I'm just going to go lift. I'm going to go to the gym. And you imagine yourself putting on your shoes, changing into those clothes, because I don't know if you've ever tried to implement a habit from zero, right? Which we all have, I'm sure, if you're watching this type of video. You realize that like going from zero to the first time you do it is the hardest part of the process, right? Like from you have never worked out before to going to the gym for the first time. It's so hard. But the second day, after you went through the motions, you put on the shoes, you got the gym clothes, you drove to the gym, you did the workout, like you kind of give yourself the realization how easy it is to go do all that. And yes, it's not like very easy, but it just seems a lot more manageable to go and do that whole entire process versus, day zero, you don't know what the gym looks like. It's so much easier to paint a bad picture of that entire experience. But if you visualize going through all of that process, even if it's something that you just can't do right now, if you imagine yourself there doing that thing, it's almost like you get that like day 1 to 2 effect, where it's a lot easier to go back and do that habit, do that activity again. And so you can imagine that doing visualization on a daily basis for whatever activities you're trying to get better at will just make it a lot easier for you to stay consistent, to add in that new belief system of like, oh, I am that athlete, like when you visualize yourself going to the gym. Because an athlete isn't just the guy who's lifting 500 pounds in the gym, right? The athlete is the guy who doesn't feel like going to the gym, but is able to make themselves be like, nah, like I'm going to go lift. I'm going to go hit that workout. The athlete is the one who is able to overcome their negative emotions and be able to say no to that food, say no to that like unhealthy event. The athlete is able to do that. And so if you are able to get your discipline on, a physical discipline, whether it comes to working out, doing a sport and getting better at it, you add in meditation and feeling more present, you add in imagination, having a vision board, doing affirmations, doing visualizations. If you combine all 3 of these, you will change your life and be able to reach your dream state. I'm not at my fully realized dream, but fuck, bro. I moved to California. I'm in an apartment. I'm doing creative work for a living right now. I'm very happy with where I'm at in life, and I have much more bigger dreams, bigger goals to hit, which I will hit in the next few years, the next 10 years. I'm so excited to see where I go. And these 3 things have helped me so much along the way. So I heavily recommend you get into all of these. You take them very seriously. You start reading books about them. You watch more YouTube videos about them. You join my school community at school.com/sunny so that you get my help and other people's help. You do everything you can to start getting into these habits, because I swear to God, they will change your life. Thank you so much for watching this video. Go check out my main channel and subscribe, all that crap. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.